Joyful Riches podcast, where you gain precious tips for easily ignite your full spectrum wealthy life. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific with your friends and families because we all want and deserve to be wealthy and happy. This podcast is powered by Anchor FM, by Spotify. Anchor FM is this super awesome free podcast made easy platform. And for this week, we are so thrilled and so honored to have Tamia with us. It's such a wonderful thing to have Tamia here. Tamia, please, would you mind share with our audience what is it that you do?
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. B, for having me here. I'm so excited. My name is Tamia Dow, and I am an award-winning filmmaker, a best-selling author, and a success coach.
That is super awesome. Filmmaker. We don't always see a lot of award-winning filmmaker. Many people want to be one, but hey, we know that you are been super successful in there and an author and a coach. What brings you to do what you do?
Well, I have been blessed with a very diverse life. Really a true blessing. I basically went through the U.S. Army, so I'm in the U.S. And I was part of the U.S. Army. And in the U.S. Army, I was a officer, so in charge of troops, and I worked with the military police. When I finished with my Army career, I actually went on to be a local community police officer in Las Vegas, Nevada. So I was working with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and there I served as a police officer with them and retired from them with not with a degree. Retirement should be with a degree, right?
Yeah.
But I retired from there with a specialty in domestic violence. That's what I actually worked prior to my retirement. And I had worked it for 8 years. Now, when I worked domestic violence, I got introduced to all kinds of crimes. And of course, as a police officer, I also got introduced to a lot of crimes. Well, I was always a creative. Before I got on the police department, I actually acted and was in live plays when I lived in Ohio before my family moved to Las Vegas. So I put all of that creativity on hold to become those two positions that I just described to you, which was military and police. And you really didn't get a lot of opportunities to necessarily go and do some stage work, or go be in movies, that kind of thing. So as soon as I retired, what I did is I'm also an ordained minister. I didn't mention that. I got ordained, took my Bible training and such while I was still a police officer. So when I retired, I just kind of asked the Lord, I was like, what am I supposed to do with this information and these talents that you've blessed me with? When I retired, this will give away my age. When I retired, I was 45 years old. Could you imagine retiring at 45? Especially from like a corporate, job, a work-a-day job. So I was really blessed with that opportunity. And I had so much knowledge and so much training that my police agency and the military had put me through, basically. And I was saying, 45 is too young to stop. Some people retire, and what do? They run off and, play with the grandkids and do all this stuff. But bear in mind, I'm 45. So I have no grandkids yet. I actually wasn't even married, So now I have all this free time and all these amazing skills that I've been blessed with. And I was like, Lord, what am I supposed to do with it? Well, he told me and reminded me of my passion for storytelling. So this is why when I talk to you about being an award-winning filmmaker and also a best-selling author, it combines my passion for storytelling. So it's really been a blessing for me to be on the path that I am right now, because of course I have my faith that guides me along the way. I'm always very mindful, like I said, I asked the Lord, I was like, what will you have me do? Right? Because he's given me these skills. And I often talk about in my training about the fact that we've all been given skills. We don't know how many skills. We discover those skills along the way, but it's up to us to actually proactively seek out and use the skills and the talents that we've been blessed with.
That is so amazing. Wow, that is just it now. And I love how you have such a, like you said, a diverse life. You serve the country and in multiple different way. I actually didn't know I didn't know the military police part of that. And I know you were a police officer, and to serve that. And the part that I love were two things. Some people said, okay, I'm retired. Okay, well, I'm just gonna go start eating bonbons, right? Regardless of the age. And truth be told, there are people who are not retired yet, but they have the mindset of retired.
Yes.
You know how it is, like, they might still be working, but they just like, I'm just waiting for everything to end. And then what?
Right.
Like, like, hello, we don't want to just stop things and roll over, right? And so
Right.
I love how being up, I can imagine being a police officer and this and that. You have pensions. This is
Yes.
United States. So you could have said just, okay, well, I'm just gonna be lounging now, instead of like going back, reviving your passion from before this whole thing, and putting the work to do that, and bringing so much, continuing to bring great good in a different way. That is just so amazing. So what would, so I you mentioned in there, for us, all of us, and I agreed it with you, all of us has been given gifts and skills,
Yes. Mhm.
and it's for us to discover that. What if people say, so how do I go about doing that if I don't have a ministry training and a police training and all these things? How do I even discover what possible gifts I have?
Well, that's a great question. So for me, I look at it like this. I just want to say this to everyone. If you are reading, like looking at me, listening to us right now today, I just want to let you know that you have not discovered or you are not done living. Okay. So I say that because some people feel like they've accomplished. I mean, there's people at 30 years old, 20 years old that feel like they've accomplished their mission here on earth. But the thing is, the Lord is gracious, and however your higher being is that you think of, they're very gracious. It's like, you're not going to leave this world until you have completed the mission you have been put here for. So this question that you ask about, how does someone discover what their mission is? Well, it's really important. And one of the first things I always say is, first off, you got to ask. Ask the universe, ask God. Like I said when I was sharing with you, is that I asked, what will you have me do? Right? I don't want to be I don't want to be told that I was wicked with the talents that I was blessed with. And I tell you this because, and I'm going to ask you all to Google the parable of the talents. It's called the parable of the talents. It is a parable. It is also, it is in the Bible, but it is also used. And basically it talks about a master, a landowner who leaves, and he has 3 servants, 3 workers on his land. And when he leaves, he says to one worker, I'm going to give you 1 talent. Now, in the story, it sounds like the talent that he's giving him is like a financial thing, like money, right? And he gives him the 1 talent, then he goes to the next one, he gives that one 2 talents, and he goes to the next one and he gives that one 5 talents. Okay. So when he leaves, they don't know when he's coming back. They have no idea when he's going to return. So person number 1 takes that 1 talent that he was given by the Lord, and he puts it in the backyard, buries it, keeps it nice and deep in his backyard. Person number 2 says, I've been given these 2 talents. Let me see if I can do something to increase them, to use them and increase them, because I know the Lord would want me to do something well with what he has given me, right? The 5th or the 3rd one also takes his 5 and multiplies, okay? So then the master comes back, because remember I said, you never know when you're going to be held into account to give an account for what you've done with the talents you've been blessed with in your life, right? Because none of us know when our last breath will be taken, when our last hour on this earth will be. So this is how I'm telling this story, if you guys are catching it, okay? So he comes back and he says to number one, what did you do with the talent that I've given you? And he says, oh, I know you to be a cruel and wicked master. And I know that you would be so upset if I had wasted or lost that talent. So I buried it in the backyard. The master looks at him and says, you are a wicked and lazy servant. And because you've done that, I'm going to cast you out. Okay. And when you read the parable, it's a little more haste than that. Like, but then he goes to number two, and number two doubled. So he has 4. And then he goes to number 3, and number 3 doubled. So he has 10. So what I say to look at that, when we take it back to what we perceive as talents, right? Abilities, things that you can do. I look at it like this. Most of us might be the person who has the 1 and we need to use it, or maybe even the person that has the 2 and we need to multiply it. Who would you think would be like a person that has the 10? Now, I'll tell you about that. I think that's people like our creatives, our super creatives, Beyonce and Queen Latifah and, all these people who we, Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres, all these people who have these multi-talents and they're using them and they're blessing them. Not only are they blessing the world, but they're also blessing like individual people. Angelina Jolie comes to life, those type of people. So I say that because I don't want any of us to get that message that says, you wicked servant. Okay. So I've put together a book. This is a workbook, okay? And it's called In Celebration of You, In Celebration of You. And what it does is says fun activities to help you rediscover you. So when you ask that question that you just asked, Dr. B, when you said, hey, how do we know? I have set it up in here where each person can go through here, and it's a workbook. You take your time at your pace and you answer the questions that will spark your mind, that will help you, like it helped me, remember that when I was 12 or 13 years old, I was singing in musical theater. At 45, when I was asking the Lord, what would you have me do? I wasn't even thinking about that I was singing and performing in junior high school. You know what I'm saying? So this is why I created this book, because as a success coach, and a very successful compiler, I help people write their stories, and I compile their stories together so that they can be sparked. And the spark is here. They can be sparked to tell their story on a global scale, on a bigger scale. So that's a way to find out, to actually explore, to actually ask, to get my workbook so that you can discover and know what it is that your story is. Because in that book, you're going to come up with a lot of ideas, but what is the story that you need to share? What is it that you have been through? And notice I say through, okay? Because if you're watching this, you've on the other side of what you're going through, or maybe you're in the midst of going through. But the key is, if you remember the 23rd Psalm, it says, yea, though I go through the valley of the shadow of death. It doesn't say, yea, though I sit still in the middle of, yea, that I camp out in the valley. It says, yea, that I go through. So all of us have gone through, and there may be someone who's camped out in the midst, and they need to hear our story to know that they can go through the valley and come out on the other side and get up and recreate themselves and do something amazing to serve this world.
That is so beautiful and so awesome. And it's such perfect that you have your workbook, because that will guide people. And that's very true. Sometimes we think a lot of people say, oh, that was just a silly childhood thing. But why, if we look back, do we ever ask, which is in your case, right? Do we ever ask, why did I do that? Why life put me in such a place? It's actually a similar thing with me. Yet my background's oncology. And when I decided to expand my service and become a speaker and coach and an author, a lot of people have what we call stage fright, right? You know that.
Yes.
I look back and I say, you know what? I'm so grateful. I practically has no stage fright. For me, the bigger the stage, the bigger the audience, the better. Why? Because I actually was a child actress. I
Yes.
was on stage for years after years after years in front of like some 2,000 people. And so I'm like, well, this just come easy. So life has sometimes in us already. And if we just look back, but that is so beautiful. Now, talking about going through the shadow of life, and there are some people who are perhaps still in whether they choose to camp or they unconsciously, because sometimes that happen, you just like stuck in there. And if you ever been like stuck in a maze or something like that, you're spinning around, you're like, dang, I'm going through. I have this experience with a parking lot the other day. Unfamiliar parking lot, like they have one place to get in and one place to get out, and it's usually at the other end from where you are. And I keep spinning around, and I'm like, I'm not getting out of here. And I'm like, I just saw that car. I'm like in a spun. Hello. But sometimes that's how life is. And sometimes we're not even realizing we're like spinning around in the same spot. So what would be your advice for people who says, well, with you having seen a lot of life, I'd imagine, what would be your advice for people who's like, okay, well, I feel stuck, or I'm not even sure if I'm stuck. How do I get through life? How do I be able to move through the valley of the darkness, so to say?
It's important that you identify what success is to you, because my idea of success is totally different than your idea of success. Now, you may look at the things that I've accomplished in my life and think, oh, cool, she's successful. Yet that may not be you, right? It may not be your desire to be a filmmaker. It may not be your desire to be an international speaker. It may not be your desire to, you know what I'm saying? So it has to be unique to you. Your desire, your perfect could be that you want to run your own business, or you want to, whatever it is personal to you is what is identified as success. And as we talked about going through, what you must understand, it doesn't matter how many times you fall down. It matters how many times you get back up and get back on the path. Okay. So when you know your success path, you know where you're going. Because the thing is, if you have no idea where you're going, and I call it, it's like they say you should know your vision, right? Know your vision in life, know your mission in life, know your goal in life, know your dreams. Yet all of those things that I just described, you have to take action with. Just knowing things doesn't help, right? I had a friend share with me the other day. He said, there were these four birds that were sitting on a telephone wire, and they're all sitting next to each other, and they're looking at each other. And one of them says, you know what? I'm going to get off this wire. So he decided he was going to get off the wire. So now I just told you that. So how many are left on the wire?
Are you asking me?
Yes. How many are left on the wire?
4.
Exactly. Because deciding doesn't make it happen. I actually love that when he shared that, because I was like, that is so true. I always tell people it's nice that you know and you have a desire, but if you don't take action, if you don't keep moving through, right? This is what I say. We're talking about being camped out. If you don't keep moving through, you're not going to accomplish the goal you say you want to accomplish, the dream you say you want to accomplish. You are not going to become the success you believed you were going to become, because until you take action, you can't do it. So what would I say to that person that's trying to figure out, how do I make the next step to get there? Number one, don't try, because trying is just like deciding. Trying is not a power word. If you're trying to do something, you're not doing it, right? You're either doing it or you're not doing it, right? So that's what I would say, is decide and do, right? Decide is important because you have to have clarity, right? So you have to decide, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get off this wire, and here's my plan to do it. And then you have to do it. Because if you just decide, you're still on the couch, you're still camped out in the middle, and you're not accomplishing the goals that you know in your heart you're supposed to be doing. And we know the biggest disappointment in so many people's life is the regret of not doing what they know they were called to do.
That is beautiful. I love that. I love how I love how you picture it. And you being a coach, naturally, you'll be able to help guide people. Besides just discovering, you be able to help people know what actions to take. And so that is so wonderful, because people can connect with you. How do people connect with you? How do they find your book? And if they want you, now that they discover what it is that they're here for, how do they connect with you so they can work with you?
Excellent. Yes, I'd love to work with you all. And it really, truly is my goal to help people figure out what their God planned life, their divine planned life is, and for them to see their dreams actually come true, right? To happen. Because think about how I described to everybody that when I was a child, it's like, so when I was a child, I did, not only did I do acting, but I failed to mention that since 9 years old, I was writing short stories, right? So then, but all of that went on pause when I did military and police service, right? But then I re-picked it back up. And I think there's some dreams that within our listeners here and the people viewing, that they know in their heart this is what they really wanted to do since they were children, but society molded them and said, no, you must go earn money, you must go do this, you can't live out your dream. And I encourage you to. This is something that the pandemic has given a lot of us, the ability to have the courage to step out and do something that was non-traditional, because you no longer were able to go to work. You no longer, so many people were laid off and things such as that. So they went out and rediscovered themselves and then went after their dreams. So how do you find me? I am Tamia Dow. Okay, so it's there underneath me there. You want to go to Coach Tamia at Gmail to email me personally. You can also find me on Instagram, Tamia_Dow. I'm really good in Messenger. So if you want to messenger me there, or if you want to message me on Facebook, which is chaplain, because remember I said ordained minister. So it's CHAPLAINDOW. Become my friend. Let me know you saw me here so I can let you in, because I'll know that I know you from this podcast. And then we can chat on Messenger. But the thing that I always offer, and it's in the back of my book, is I offer a consultation to be able to talk to me, Coach Tamia, and I will help you. Now, the thing is, I do require, because we are coaches, right, Dr. B? And we require everyone to do some work, okay? Don't just show up and want to grab our time, but you haven't done any work. So there is work in this workbook. And at the end of the workbook, it gives you my contact information, how to get a hold of me, and how I can help you move forward. So that is ways to contact me, resources that you can use. And then how can you see my films? You want to go to, and I know a lot of people aren't on Facebook, but go to Facebook and you will find my work under 888 Spirit Productions. That's triple spelled out, the number 8, Spirit Productions. And I tell you what, I'm also excited to share, Dr. B, is that by the time this comes out, this broadcast comes out, I will have been to the Cannes Film Festival which is in France, and it's the biggest film festival for filmmakers and producers. And I am blessed to be an invited producer to get to walk the red carpet and rub elbows with all of those big wigs and actors. And I tell you what, it wasn't just handed to me. It took a lot of work. So I'm just so excited about that. And I want to share with everyone that it takes work to be successful. No one's going to come find you on the couch. No one's going to come find you sitting in the middle of the valley.
But when you put in the work, and you take the steps, it's not overnight. We met like in 2018 or 19, right? It's 19, not overnight. Yes. But when you put in the work, look at that. Who got invited to walk on the red carpet at the Cannes Film Festival? I'm going to repeat my questions earlier. Do you need somebody to dust your gown? I'm pretty sure I can do that quite well.
Maybe next year you can join me.
Right. So, well, thank you so much. It's such a delight and an honor to even have you consider being on this podcast. Thank you so much. Do you have a final message? After all you've seen, I imagine you've seen being a military police, being a chaplain, being a community police, and now being a filmmaker and an author and a coach. After all you've seen, if you have one message to our audience, what would that be?
Well, I encourage you to be unapologetically you. And what I mean by that is go for your dreams. Don't let other people discourage you, because your success, your dream is for you. And not everybody is going to be cheering you on your journey, yet it is for you. As I said earlier, success is defined by the person defining it. So be unapologetically you and go for the life of your dreams, because you deserve it.
Oh, I just love that. Be unapologetically you. And that is coming from chaplain Tamia Dow, the award-winning filmmaker, author, coach, and also chaplains and community service officer. That is so amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tamia. Thank you for sharing your time and your tips with us today. And for you, my friends who are listening to this, please share one or two gold nuggets from all the richness that we hear from Tamia. Please share one or two gold nuggets in the comment below so we can continue learning from each other. And thank you for joining. Please do share this podcast with your friends and family so they too can triumph and have fun at the same time, because as you see that Tamia, it's really, really fun. And this is Dr. Birgitte Tan, your grief transformation specialist for individual and businesses, founder of the International Childhood Cancer Charity and United States country chair for the G100 Global Networking All Ladies League organization. And you, my friend, make it a thriving day, and we will see you again next Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific.